The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is the Players Lounge, broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now your hosts, Barry Church, Danny McCray, and Newy Scruggs.
All right, everybody, it's Friday, and the Dallas Cowboys have made their selection. They have a new member on defense. Barry Church and I have been preaching defense, and they went that way. We did not get the player that we thought the Cowboys would get. So welcome in. We've got a lot to chat about here. We appreciate you joining us. Players Lounge brought to you by Hotels.com. I'm Newy Scruggs, longtime Cowboys reporter, joined by former Cowboys safety Barry Church. Our guy Danny McCray is still out on assignment. So Micah Parsons is the pick. The Cowboys had the 10th pick in the draft. We watched, I watched in horror, Barry, as Carolina went J.C. Horn at 8. And I was like, yeah, this is good. Okay, this is good. Because I'm like, Denver at 9 will trade the pick. Somebody's going to want the quarterback, right? Justin Fields is available. Chicago can come up here. So there'll be a quarterback at 9 and Surtain is at 10. And my dream went downhill in flames when I saw the Broncos take Patrick Surtain, the Cowboys at 10, then trade down to 12 to Philadelphia. They pick up a third. They take Micah Parsons, the outstanding linebacker from Penn State. So what was your feeling watching all this?
I was similar to you, Newy. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was feeling great, after I saw the Kyle Pitts go to number 4 to Atlanta. I'm all right, well, that's out the way. I mean, I'm like, that's out the way. We ain't got to worry about no speculation. We're business. We good. We straight, Then we got, then Jamar Chase went off the board. I'm like, all right, we still good. And then, like you said, Carolina rolled around and they picked J.C. Horn. I'm like, all right, that was a solid pick. So that just leaves us, being in the business for Surtain, because I did not see Denver going after a corner, going after a Surtain, anything like that. I didn't see that coming. And boom. Just like you said, it was just like I was out to dinner, matter of fact, and I'm just watching it on my phone. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll pick Surtain. We got him on lock now. I mean, it's a wrap. And then, boom, right. I saw that pick go by, and I'm like, oh, no, baby, say it ain't so. They took them. They took both of what I thought were our top 2 defensive blue-chip prospects right under our feet. Carolina got one, Denver got the other. And, I was in shock. I was in shock for a hot second, and I started racking my brain thinking, all right, what type of scenarios can we do here? Could we trade back, or do we stay at 10 and just pick our –
trade down.
Trade, and then I saw the trade back, and I'm like, all right, they traded back. All right, so who are they gonna grab? Who are they gonna grab with this pick? And when it came across that it was Micah Parsons, I thought to myself immediately, like, all right, well, at the very least, they addressed the defensive side of the ball. Like, they didn't trade back and grab an offensive lineman or anything like that. They addressed the defensive side of the ball. It's not the level that I wanted. I wanted help in the secondary because I didn't see any blue chip defensive line prospects. So I wanted help in the secondary above all. But when they took both of those prospects, and we talked about this on the Players Lounge a couple weeks ago, what would happen if they took if both of our prospects were gone? And we both decided, hey, let's trade back and see what we can do for there, add some depth. But when they got Micah Parsons, I said, okay, they addressed the defense. And here's a guy who's explosive. I'm talking about explosive. We saw the 40 time, 4.39 at 245. This is an explosive linebacker, sideline to sideline. Last time we saw him on the field, I think it was in the Capital One Bowl. He had like 17 tackles. He was all over the field. He's a Buckus Award winner. And so I'm thinking, all right, this guy can be a plug and play. Not sure where, because if personally, I would play him at the will linebacker. I wouldn't put him in the middle. There's a lot of banging in there. I want to see his speed on the outside, maybe rushing a little bit, covering some running backs here and there. So I thought to myself, all right, this is a sideline to sideline guy. He can help our defense. But what does that mean for the rest of the linebacking crew? And I'm racking my brain like, where do we put these guys? Because we got Keanu Neal in that hybrid linebacker type role, and I'm thinking that's exactly what Micah Parsons is going to be. I mean, he's the same type of build, even faster than the Keanu Neal who's coming off an Achilles. So, what do we do with Neal in this situation? What do we do with the Jaylon Smith? What do we do with LVE? So all this was racking through my brain, but overall, I think it was a solid pick. And it gave us an opportunity to add another pick in the third round when we traded back so we can get more depth pieces for this defense. So overall, it wasn't who I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be Surtain or Horn at that cornerback position. But I think it's a solid pick, and this guy can help our defense this year.
It's interesting how this thing works out because over at the TV station where I work at NBC5 here in Dallas-Fort Worth, it was about maybe 4 o'clock. They said, hey, can you send us a quick write-up on what you think the Cowboys will do? And I said, sure. So I do this write-up talking about Patrick Surtain and how I liked him. Then I said, J.C. Horn could be there as well. And that I was told by someone on the inside that, hey, look, they'd be happy with either guy. And they expect both guys to be there. And then, for just some strange reason, I said, let me add a third person. And I put Micah Parsons down there. I put Micah Parsons down there. And just said, here's another guy to look for. So when I think about it, and you try to sit up here for Cowboy fans who had their heart set on a corner like Barry and I, Micah Parsons was that next best defensive player there. A couple things surprised me, Barry, because I went out to the press conference earlier in the week where Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Mike McCarthy met the media, and they spoke about, and I asked the question, if guys didn't play, if they sat out because of COVID-19, do you have an issue with that? And Jerry said, quote, I think they're compromised.
Yeah.
I think they're compromised. And then he said, yeah, you missed out on a whole year of football. Then he asked Coach McCarthy, all right, so how many plays are they missing? And he said, they're missing about 700 plays. So I thought immediately, hey, man, look, guys like Penei Sewell, Rashaan Slater, Caleb Farley, Micah, these guys are probably not going to make it to the Cowboys because Jerry is going to be like, no. So the next day, I tried to be smart, made a phone call to a contact and said, hey, are you guys going to penalize people if they are not playing? He said no. Contact said no, no, not at all. And I asked, do you hate Micah Parsons? I asked that. Okay,
you went out there and asked it, huh?
I did. I asked my contact. I said, do you hate him? He said no. I was like, okay. Okay. So Jerry, so they make the trade, and this is my opinion, okay, folks. All right, Dallas Cowboys Nation, this is my opinion. The two fits I thought at 10 that would be best would be Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn. They make the trade down. They pick up the 3 from Philadelphia. You go get Micah Parsons. He didn't play last year, but when he did play, the guy was pretty damn good. Okay, I think you got to give him that. Defensive MVP at the Cotton Bowl against Memphis. Dane Brugler, I respect his analysis. Dane Brugler is also part of the Dallas Cowboys podcast network. Dane writes, the Penn State linebacker found 2 seasons in college and led the team in tackles both years. What does this mean for Jaylon Smith and Leighton Vander Esch in Dallas? Right now, you need as many good football players as you can. So if your linebacker room is Jaylon Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Micah Parsons, and Keon O'Neal, okay, I'm good with that. I'm good. I don't know about you, but I'm good with that. That is an upgrade. And what have we talked about before here on this show, Barry? Hey, who's going to cover some of these tight ends and linebackers and just looking the way the league goes? Now, I ain't going to call him Devin White, okay? I'm not going to call him Devin White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not. But when you think about what Devin White did, in your hope of hopes, if you're going onto the, hey, let's look at the positives, what if Micah Parsons could be your Devin White? Wouldn't you sign up for that?
I would. I mean, look what Levante David did in the Super Bowl against Kelsey. I mean, this is another cover style linebacker that they had, and I'm not going to say he shut out Kelsey, but he definitely limited Kelsey's role in that Super Bowl, and I think that paid huge dividends for that defense overall. So for me, I'm thinking, look, I love with the pick with the Micah Parsons pick because I think he can be that cover linebacker. And what also I loved about that pick is this is not to my knowledge, but this is a guy that hasn't been injury prone. I mean, we look at our defense, what we have on our roster right now. Half of our starters on defense have been through some type of injuries, have had multiple surgeries, have missed multiple games. So this is a guy coming in fresh, no surgeries, no injuries that I know of. And look, it has to be a positive for this defense. And like you mentioned with that White situation, our linebackers in the past have been liabilities in coverage. I mean, we've seen what J.D. McKissick was able to do in Washington. We've seen some of these tight ends be able to route up our guys and running backs route up our guys on third and medium. To have a guy with the explosiveness and the coverage ability of a Parsons added to this linebacker crew can only be a positive for this team. And like I said, he's not injury prone, so we don't have to worry about him missing massive amount of time. I just think it's a positive overall. He didn't get that Surtain, like we said, didn't get that Surtain or Horn, but I think it was the next best option. Plus, we picked up a third. So I'm happy so far with the draft.
Dave Hellman, who also is a part of our Dallas Cowboys podcast family here, he does great work. He broke down Parsons and talked about the 6.5 sacks that the guy got. So if you've got a linebacker who can find his way to the quarterback, Cowboy fans, I don't think I agree with Dave on that. You should not be sniffing your nose at it, thinking that this is a problem and this is bad. The Cowboys added a piece that if you ask yourself 5 years from now, you're hoping that this player is a good player and he's here doing some things for a while. A lot of us did not know about DeMarcus Ware coming out of Troy when they took him at number 11. Once again, I ain't calling him DeMarcus Ware, but I'm just saying we're talking about a player who comes into the NFL who had a better resume than DeMarcus Ware. And Ware's a Hall of Fame player, in my opinion. And I'm not going to call Parsons, the next great thing, but I'm just saying if you're looking for the hope side, because Barry, I feel like there was so much negativity that I was reading on social media for Cowboy fans. I'm trying to find a way today to say, hey, look at some things that he can do. Bill Walsh was always big on, don't tell me what a player can't do. Tell me what he can do for my 49ers. And that's what I'm trying to sit up here and talk about today for some of the things about Micah Parsons. What can he do? You've seen his speed. I watched the pro day on NFL Network at Penn State, and James Franklin was raving about him in the fast. I was like 4.39, some crazy thing like that.
Yeah, 4.39. He was rolling.
Okay, so right now we're talking about a fast linebacker, a guy who can find his way to sack the quarterback. Tell me what the negatives are here, especially since your corners were gone. It's not like you sat up here and said, hey, man, we're going to take Parsons over the corners. You didn't. This was your next best choice. Now, I'm going to sit up here and say this, Barry. When I saw what the Giants got from Chicago, I'm like, wow. Because the Bears, and we talked about it before, the Bears would be willing to give up a 1 to move up and get a quarterback, and sure enough, they did. So the Giants got a haul, and the Giants had to go to 20, and maybe the Cowboys were not ready to go to 20. And actually, at the press conference, Jerry Jones raved about how he had Micah Parsons as his number 1 defensive player on the board. My first thought is, if he's your number 1 defensive player on the board, why are you trading down to 12? Why don't you take him at 10? But hey,
why did you just hit?
Now I'll say that, and I'll say this in Jerry's defense. They traded down 2 spots when they took Roy Williams. Eons ago back, was it 2003? When they took Roy, or 2002, but they traded down 2 spots and picked up a third from Kansas City to get him. So he does have precedent in doing that. And I guess he was pretty sure that nobody was going to take Micah Parsons at 11 so they could go ahead and get to 12. And maybe Chicago called them and they just didn't want to fall all the way to 20 to do it. Because here's my thought. If you go 20, you could take Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. But they took Parsons. They like Parsons. There's a need for Parsons. For everybody out there that's unhappy with Jaylon Smith, and you see it on social media, a bunch of people like cut Jaylon Smith.
Everybody.
And for the people who are like Leighton Vander Esch, I like him, but he's always hurt. And oh, by the way, it is Monday. They have a deadline. Okay, the Cowboys on Monday have to tell Leighton Vander Esch if they're going to pick up his option for 2022 of $9.1 million. And Stephen Jones was asked about it earlier this week, and he said, we hadn't got to that yet. So that's another interesting decision.
Wait. You said you asked him about the 5th-year option, and it's due Monday, right? Monday is the deadline of where you got to tell somebody or not if they're going to be, here for their 5th-year option. And he said, we haven't got to that yet. I mean, that's a couple days away, man.
Okay, and I'll say this. They didn't have the draft yet. You didn't know what you were going to have. So
True.
why why make a decision? Why come out and make and say we're going to do this or that? And you don't have to yet. Let's see what your team is. If they're still having cap issues, they may decide, we're not going to do this. Garrett Bowles was under that same scenario with Denver where they didn't pick up his fifth-year option. He came out and he balled last year and they gave him a new contract. So, it doesn't – if you say to the player, we're not going to pick up the fifth-year option, that doesn't mean that you can't therefore go and do another contract with the player. So if they basically say to Leighton Vander Esch, you know what, prove it. Give us a prove it year this year, and then, maybe we start – they've got that opportunity. Or they could throw the franchise tag. I mean, there's options.
There's definitely options. There's definitely. Let me ask you this, Newy. Let me ask you this real quick. For as far as the draft, we can get back to the draft. Do you think the Cowboys made the best valued pick in getting Micah Parsons there? I mean, because they could have got the tackle from Northwestern. I believe his name is Rashaan Slater. I believe his name was. Okay. They could have gotten him if they stayed at 10. Do you think out of those two scenarios that they made the best overall value pick by getting Micah Parsons at 12 rather than sticking with Rashaan Slater, that tackle, who could have been a guard or he could have been a swing tackle, anything like that? Do you think they made the right choice there?
Okay, I'm glad you asked this. I think this is a very, very good question. We all love Zack Martin and what he is as a football player, and he's building a Hall of Fame resume. Coming out of Notre Dame, he was a left tackle. He was so good, he was the bowl game MVP of the Yankee Bowl for Notre Dame.
At the tackle position.
At the tackle position, all right? That tells you how dominant he was. The Cowboys drafted him and immediately put him at guard. The reason why? The arm length. Didn't have long arms. And the Cowboys felt he didn't have the kind of arms that they want for a tackle, so he went inside. Rashaan Slater has short arms. In the Cowboys system, okay? And make sure I say this straight for people who in the Cowboys system, he's a guard. Person I talked to said this guy could be an all-pro guard. He has Zack Martin traits. That's how much they like Rashaan Slater and what they thought of Rashaan Slater. But they were not going to draft a guard at 12. Versus we need some help on defense. Here's a dynamic defensive player, in our opinion, who can help us. Let us go back to what Dan Quinn had in Seattle, which helped him land the Atlanta Falcons job. You had Bobby Wagner, you had KJ Wright. You had really good linebacker play, and you had dudes who could get across the football field. We keep talking about trying to give Dan Quinn players. Did you give him a player? I feel like you gave him Micah Parsons. You gave him a player. You gave him a fast guy in this league where you need fast people. You gave him a guy who, when you look at the tape of what we've seen, the guy was producing. Will he be a walk-in starter? He hasn't played in 2 years. I don't think he will. But can he help your football team? Yeah. If Jaylon Smith does not get back to being the player you want him to be, then maybe he's that guy on third downs. If Leighton Vander Esch is hurt, then maybe he's that guy that's playing. But you have two question marks at your two starting linebackers. You needed help on all three levels. We said you needed help on all three levels. But going back to your original point about Slater, Slater's a guard. For the Cowboys, he's a guard. Now, he'll be a tackle out there for the Chargers, and that's great for them. Yeah. That's what they want. But with the way the Cowboys play their guys and the way they run their system for the offensive line, he was a guard. And I just don't think you take a guard at 12. So, good question. I know a lot of people talked about putting Slater there, but I just knowing the Cowboys the way they operate, I'm like, nah, he's a guard. You didn't need to do that for a guard.
You're right. I mean, that's a little high for, like you said, the guard, and he played tackle his whole career, and then he's moving him in the guard. Who knows what he would project as? And with Micah Parsons out there, I mean, we know what he can do. We know what he can do. He's sideline to sideline. He's explosive. He can cover, and that's what we've been needing. That's what we've been needing on the defensive side of the ball. It's not the secondary pick. It's not that blue chip prospect I wanted to get, like in Surtain or Horn, but this guy, I mean, he can fly. He can fly all around. And what we've been missing since probably 2018 when LVE and Jaylon Smith were rolling and they were, probably the best tandem of linebackers in the league at that point, if we've been missing that sideline guy, the guy that can make everybody right, no matter if the defensive lineman hits the wrong gap or gets pushed out of his gap, we need somebody with explosiveness that can make everybody around them better and everybody around them right. And I'm not sure this is the right. I'm not sure Micah Parsons can do that, but I think he gives the Cowboys the best opportunity to have that sideline guy who can cover as well and not get exposed on those third and mediums, because that's what killed us as a defense last year. It's not like, we were giving up huge chunks on first. It was the 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7s, where that medium third down range where the backs come alive, the tight ends come alive, and they ended up picking us apart in that core part of our defense. So I think this guy can come in and give us an upgrade at that if he's able to be a day one starter. Now that's the question that's still out there. Can he come in after missing a year? Can he come in and unseat one of these guys at that linebacker position? I'm not sure about that, but like we've said before, there's a long history with these linebackers of being injured, so I wouldn't be surprised if halfway through the season or maybe even the first couple games through the season, this guy doesn't come in and make a rotational piece and eventually take over the starting role for these guys, because he's that explosive and he can have that much of an impact on the defense. We just need, on our defense, we need some juice. We need an infusion of juice on that defense. Speed, exactly. There was just too many times last year where guys it looked like they were lolling around, like they were running in quicksand. Like it felt like everybody was running circles around our defense. And I think if you got a guy that has juice like he has and can get from sideline to sideline like that, I think he's definitely an upgrade for our defense. And he should be one of the starting linebackers here soon when the season starts.
Before we go to break, Bear, I want to pose this to you because you played in the National Football League. You played for the Cowboys. You played on a really good Jacksonville Jaguar defense that ended up going into the AFC Championship game with a lead in the second half before losing to the Patriots. When you bring in a player like Parsons as a number one draft pick and you're an incumbent like Leighton, Vander, Esch, and Jaylon Smith, how much does it increase the competition in the room, and how much do those two players who have been starters and have gone to the Pro Bowl, do they feel any heat? Do they feel any pressure to keep what they have? How does that work in the locker room?
Oh, without a doubt, you feel heat. When you got someone drafted in the first round at your position, knowing that, hey, they're coming basically for your job, I mean, you're gonna feel the heat. And this is a guy that, everybody raved about, saying how explosive he was and how he can help any defense out there. So you're gonna feel the heat. And it's up to Jaylon and it's up to LVE to step up their game in that level of competition. I mean, I know me for a fact, when I was having my competitions with JJ Wilcox or Rodney Poole when I was trying to get started as a starter in a safety unit, I made sure I worked out with those guys. I made sure, look, I'm gonna get as close as I can with you guys to make sure look, if their game is going up and up and up, I got to make sure my game matches theirs, because I know that they're coming for my job in the long haul. So for them, it's just two ways to approach it. Either you can be that that mentor to them, show them the ropes, show them the game, and kind of be that Peyton Manning kind of big brother to these guys, or you can pull the Brett Favre route where it's like, hey man, this is my job, you're trying to get my job, I'm not helping you out. You see how he did Aaron Rodgers when he first came in. He was like, I'm not helping you out. And that was kind of my mold. My mold was kind of just, hey, we cool, but you're coming for my job in the end of the round, so I can't give you all my secrets. And it's just going to be up to them to decide what type of role they want to play with a guy coming in trying to take their job.
All right, let's squeeze in a break here. The Cowboys have 4 picks today. 1 in the second round, number 44. 3 in the third round, number 75, number 84, and number 99. Barry and I will give you our take about who you want. We've got a couple of folks, all right, weighing in right now here, following us here on the chat. So tell us, who do you want to see? Who do you want to see the Cowboys take? Who'd be your ideal person in the second round or position? Let us know. Let's chat about it. You're in the Players Lounge, brought to you by Hotels.com, right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
Adjust your cleats, adjust your pads, even adjust your helmet. But seriously, don't adjust your underwear, because once it's seen, it cannot be unseen. Tommy John's fabric keeps you cool and dry on the field or in the stands, and now they even have loungewear. Yeah, loungewear. Shop underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 15% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at home pickup and delivery today.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Is your family a Cowboys family? Have you taken holiday photos at the Star? Was your wedding theme blue and silver? Have you convinced your kids them is spelled with a D? If so, every game day feels like a vacation to you, so treat it like one. Whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com. Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the Players Lounge.
Hey, Draft Pick Challenge Cowboy fans, enter free to play. Draft Pick Challenge presented by DraftKings for a chance to win 2 2021 season tickets. Submit your picks before the draft starts April 29th. Got to be 29 years old to play. And make sure you see the official rules. Enter now. Go to DallasCowboys.com/draft pick challenge. Okay, you're in the Players Lounge. Newy Scruggs, longtime Cowboys reporter, joined by Barry Church, former Dallas Cowboys safety. We are in our SWBC Mortgage virtual home studios. Micah Parsons is the pick at 12. This is a guy who, when he played in 2019, was an All-American player. Guy's resume was a proven player, okay? So the Cowboys got that. They helped their defense. They have one pick today in the second round. That's at 44. They've got 3 picks today in the third round, 75, 84, 99. Church, what position or what player would you like to see in round 2?
In round 2, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get there because we picked 12th in round 2, so I'm not sure he'll still be around. But I would love to see them get the safety from TCU. I would love to see them be able to grab him. I think he's a playmaker out there. I think he's a guy that he has multiple position flexibility. I think he can play that high hole safety. He can play in the box, and I think he can play a little bit nickel as well. He has cover skills, and he's kind of a ball hawk as well. I mean, so to me, I think he checks all the boxes for a safety that you would love to put into this defense. He doesn't have to be a day one starter at all. I mean, you can put him behind a KZ, let him learn behind KZ for a little bit, and maybe sprinkle him in on a couple dime packages or a couple nickel packages here and there. But I would love to see the Cowboys be able to get this guy. Like I said, I'm not sure if he's going to be there or not, but this is a homegrown dude. TCU played there, so for me, I would love to see them grab him. But it's between him. For the second round pick, it's between him and I would love also for them to get that defensive tackle from Alabama. I don't know if he'll be there as well because I think he might go early in the second round, but those two guys, I would love to see them add to this defense, especially on the defensive line. I mean, we need an interior defensive line piece to go with Neville Gallimore in there. Right now we got Tristan Hill coming off an ACL. Not sure what he's going to look like this season, but I would love for him to be able to get down there and just help against this run because that's what destroyed us last year, especially on the defensive side. The run destroyed us. I mean, Cats were going for 300 yards, maybe 4 or 5 games against us. Cats were going for 300 yards. So for me, we got to improve that interior part of the defensive line. I would love them to get one of those 2 players. Just not sure if they're going to be there at 12 for us to grab.
Okay, let's start with TCU safety Trayvon Merrick. Merrick was the Jim Thorpe Award winner as the top defensive back in the nation, beat out Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn for that. So he's on the board. You talked about it. All right, the 12th pick in the second round. 7 interceptions, 28 passes defended the last 3 years. Here is kind of the juice. With 3 picks in the third round, are you willing to give up, let's say, number 99 to move up and go get your safety? Or, as you spoke about, defensive tackle Christian Barmore from Alabama, 6'4", 310 pounds, 10 tackles, 15.5 sacks for loss in 24 games. If you look at him, he got better as the year went on. Started off slow, but as he started to understand and getting more playing time, he seemed to be a difference maker there. So that's my question to you. If you had to trade up to get them, would you do it?
I would trade up to get the tackle from Alabama. I'm not sure if I'd trade up to get the safety because I just feel like that tackle could affect our game more than that safety could. I feel like what we did, and I spoke about it earlier, what we did in the run was just downright terrible. And I think if we can upgrade that position, it'll help more than if we brought a safety in to kind of play that high hole. I think that defensive tackle, that 1 or that 3 technique would be able to affect the game more. So I'd be willing more to trade up for him than the safety out of TCU. Both prospects to me can help this defense in the long haul, but the more intriguing prospect to me, because how bad our run defense was, would have to be the defensive tackle from Alabama. And we've seen that the past couple of years, our second round picks, they've been all right. I mean, we had Trayvon Diggs, who was a day one starter here for the Dallas Cowboys. He went in the second round. He had an up and down season, but I think overall everybody sees him as maybe a cornerstone, or he can be a building block for this defense. So the second and third round guys, they're just as important to the development of the defense as a whole as a first round guy would be. So for me, the only one that I would trade up to get would be that defensive tackle, because I think he can affect the game a lot more and he can help against such a terrible run defense as we had. So I would trade up to get him, and hopefully that TCU safety would have fell to me, but I'm not sure he'll fall to me at all.
Okay, so let me just check out just some of the things here that people are saying right here as I'm checking social media on our page. A couple folks want Barmore, saying Barmore's worth trading up for. Jay says, I can definitely feel church on this. JOK still out there, guy from UCLA, linebacker from UCLA. I give up a couple picks to move up to get him. Somebody saying go get the Oregon safety player here.
Javon Holland, because I think Javon Holland, the safety from Oregon, I think if you don't get the safety from TCU, I believe he can be there. And I don't think you have to trade up for him to get there as well. So I think I'd trade up for the D tackle Barmore, and then I would wait in the third round to get Holland, because I think he'd still be there.
Okay, so let's just kind of go down this list right here, okay? And this is John Machado with The Athletic, another guy that I love his work and appreciate. So here are your top corners still on the board. Asante Samuel Jr. Okay, the Cowboys spoke at their press conference about loving guys who have dads that played in the National Football League. Now, Asante is 5'10", 180. Cowboys like these dudes at 6'10". But, oh, by the way, the dudes you wanted are off the board. So do you go ahead and say, let me get Asante Samuel, who had 3 picks in 8 games last year? Do you like him? You got Kelvin Joseph, the corner from Kentucky, 6'1", 197, 4 picks in 9 games last year. You got Ifeatu Melifanu from Syracuse, big safety, 6'3", 205, 3 picks in the last 20 games. Elijah Molden. I like this kid. Elijah Molden, 5'10", 190, had 5 picks his last 17 games. Then he got Tyson Campbell out of Georgia, 1 pick in 3 years as a starter. So these are just the corners. Okay, so let me start right here. Is Asante said, can you overlook the height if you're the Cowboys?
If I'm the Cowboys, I can't overlook the height. He's a perfect nickel build, but we already have 2 kind of perfect nickel builds under contract, and that's Anthony Brown and that's Jordan Lewis. And I like Asante Samuel, but if his game is anything like his father's, he's the ultimate gambler. And I think we already have a gambler in our defensive back room in Trayvon Diggs. So I'm not sure if you put two of those same type of players that love to gamble, like to jump routes, out there on the same field, because they can make plays for you. As we've seen, Asante Samuel Sr., he's made plenty of plays out there, especially in the playoffs, but that can also bite you in the butt. I mean, think about Marcus Peters. He's one of the better corners in the league. He gambles a lot and he wins a lot, but he also loses a lot. So I don't know if you want 2 gamble type corners out there with Diggs and Asante Samuel Jr. I like his game, but I'm not sure if I could do 2 gamblers on the same secondary.
Okay. All right. It's great stuff right here on our social media page. Somebody said I'd rather sign Sherman. Okay, let me help you. Richard Sherman can't play.
Oh, nah.
Okay, Richard Sherman had his time in his day. It is time to let Richard Sherman play somewhere else, okay? No. Signing Richard Sherman is no. Okay, he's not Seattle Richard Sherman. and that's being kind. And ask yourself this: why are the 49ers letting him go? It's a reason why they're letting him go. So let's move on from Richard Sherman and what you think.
And do we want another injury? Do we want another injury-prone guy? I mean, that's our defense is already. Yeah, and he's old now. He's just now. I think he just came off of a calf strain or a hamstring that limited him last season. So I'm just not a big fan of bringing injured guys into a defense that's already riddled with a lot of guys in injury-prone history.
All right, so let's now look at the safeties. We already talked about Trayvon Merrick of TCU. Richie Grant. There's a lot of people that like him, the kid from UCF who flashed at the Super Bowl, 10 picks, 27 passes, defended in the last 3 years. Javon Holland of Oregon. That's a player, 6'1", 207, 9 picks, 19 passes, defended in 27 games. One issue I'm going to wonder about, do they hold it against Richie Grant that he did not play in a Power 5 conference versus a guy like Holland who did? One of the guys.
But look at Richie Grant. But look at Richie Grant's productivity out there. I mean, you just know the 10 picks, 27 passes defense in 3 years. I mean, this guy is getting his hands on the ball. He's getting his hands on the ball. He's showing he has a lot of range. And wouldn't that be special if we had a guy with a lot of range in that back end, especially in that single high defense that Dan Quinn loves to run? I mean, he got KZ there right now, but who knows what he's going to do coming off of that Achilles. Richie Grant is a guy that can be that ball hawking guy in the back end. So I wouldn't put it past the Cowboys to sniff around for Richie Grant.
Here's a player that I saw some tape of. Look, I didn't dive heavy into it, okay? I didn't. I just saw highlights, and that never tells you the whole story. But when Indiana was balling this year, their defense was good. The quarterback was dynamic. And when he got hurt, then the whole thing fell apart. But the defense was making some plays. Jamar Johnson, 6 foot, 205, 7 picks, 14 passes defended in 31 games. So while there are a lot of people out there who are big on Richie Grant, Jamar Johnson is a guy that I think is someone to look at. So those are safeties. Let's get in here to edge rushers here that are left, all right? Azeez Ojulari of Georgia. He's out there. 14 sacks, 18 and a half tackles for loss of 24 games. Carlos Basham over at Wake Forest, 6'3", 274, 20 and a half sacks, 35.5 tackles for loss in 45 games. The big kid from Texas, Joseph Asai, 11 sacks. 30.5 tackles for loss in 36 games. Ronnie Perkins of Oklahoma, 6'3", 253, 16 and a half sacks, 32 tackles for loss in 33 games. So those are some guys. Rashad Weaver from Pittsburgh, 6'4", 259, 17 sacks, 34.5 tackles for loss in 35 games. You go over here to the defensive tackle. All right, Dan Quinn is a defensive tackle guy. Christian Barmore, okay, we spoke about him earlier from Alabama, 6'4", 310. Here's a player that I could see them liking. Big boy out of Washington, Levi Onwuzurike. Okay, 6'3", 290. 7 sacks, 16 tackles for loss in 39 games. Marlon Tuipuoloto from USC, 6'2", 305, 8.5 sacks, 15 tackles for loss in 33 games. Milton Williams out of Louisiana Tech, 6'3", 284. This is a guy that his people have talked about who dived deep in the draft like him. Jay Tufele from USC, 6'2", 305. Davion Nixon of Iowa, 6'3", 313, 8.5 sacks, 19 tackles for loss in 21 games. Aleem McNeil out of NC State, 6'2", 317, 10 sacks, 17 and a half tackles for loss in 35 games. I mean, there's a big boy right there. Some of his tape, man, is fun to watch.
And what I love about go ahead, Newy.
I was going to say just more guys that are available as the Cowboys have picks 44, 75, 84, 99, offensive tackle. Okay, for those that are concerned about Tyron Smith and Lel Collins, you've got Taven Jenkins from Oklahoma State, 6'6", 317 out there. Samuel Cosby, Texas, 6'6", 314. Liam Eichenberg, Notre Dame, 6'6", 306. These Notre Dame kids that they're producing out there have made the adjustments to the pros very well. Look no further than Zack Martin. Walter Little of Stanford, 6'7", 313. You know Stanford is a school that runs a pro offense. He has 19 starts at left tackle. Brady Christensen from BYU, 6'5", 302, 38. All 38 starts came at left tackle. Dylan Rasnitz from North Dakota State, 6'6", 301. 32 starts at left tackle. James Hudson of Cincinnati, 6'5", 313, had all of his 11 starts at left tackle. Deontay Smith of East Carolina, 6'5", 304. A lot of people think that this is an underrated player. 29 starts at left tackle, 1 at left guard. So there's kind of some areas where the Cowboys could be looking at with these 4 picks here that they could be making. And Jay, you're right here on our social media feed here for the Players Lounge on Twitter. There's some great players here. There are some players that can help the Cowboys, offensively and defensively. But if you're in love with someone, okay, this is one where who are you going to stand up on the table for? Are you willing to give up a third rounder? Are you willing to give up 99 and 44 to move up to get yourself to 40 or 41 to get whoever you want, or get to 30? Just that process. If you've taken that pick from Philadelphia, you got it for a reason. You keep it because that's 84. You keep that, and like I said, move 99 if you feel like, hey, we've got to get Barmore. If you tell me the Cowboys walk out of today with Mike, after 2 days, walk away with Micah Parsons, you walk away with a corner, you walk away with Christian Barmore, and maybe an offensive tackle, I think Cowboy fans would say you helped improve your football team.
I think so. And I think if you're able to walk away with talents like that within the first 3 rounds, I think the rest of the draft is just profit at that point. I mean, you're just adding depth at that point, because if you're able to go up there and you're able to get a Barmore and you're able to get a offensive lineman that can be a swing kind of depth piece, kind of like how Joe Looney was, kind of like that backup spot throughout the whole offensive line, and then you address the secondary need as well. I mean, you pretty much addressed your you pretty much addressed your whole team, and you upgraded your whole team. I mean, that's what we came into this whole draft talking about. Where do we think this team needs to be upgraded? And we all pretty much agreed that it needs to be on the defensive side of the ball. Now, you already got Micah Parsons in there on that second level of the defense and the linebacker situation. Now, to me, you look at the defensive line, because I think to build a successful defense, you always start from the front. You go to front to back. Now, with this particular draft, we didn't see any blue chip guys that can come in and be day one starters on that defensive line and help upgrade our defensive line. So that's why they went to the second level with Micah Parsons. But now that you're in the second round, you're in the third round, I think you have to address that defensive line. And like all those edge rushers that you mentioned, they're all right up, Dan Quinn's alley as far as body type. They're big, long, rangy type guys who he loves. So he has his options of edge rushers out there, but I'm not sure you plunge early in the second or early in the third with an edge rusher when you got already, Lawrence on one side, Tank Lawrence on one side, and you got an emerging Randy Gregory on the other side. So I don't think you need to go and trade up for an edge rusher early in the second round. But I would if it was for that interior defensive line, because we do not have anybody outside of Neville Gallimore. No disrespect to Tristan Hill, but we don't have anybody outside of Neville Gallimore that can help pretty much be stout against the run. Now, if we were able to get this Barmore kid in there, I think he'd be a huge upgrade for that defensive line. And I think he would be a huge upgrade for this defense when it comes to stopping the run. And then you fall back to the secondary. After you fall back to the secondary, like you said, you had options. You got that safety from TCU. You got Holland from Oregon, who I think you can get in the third round. And then you also have Asante Samuel Jr., who, like I said, I don't like the gambling as much, but if he's there, I think you might have to take a flyer on him. And that way you can upgrade every level of the defense without having to do too much or spend too much to upgrade it. So I think that'd be an extremely successful draft early on. And the rest of the draft would just be profit, because you can just get depth pieces for either offensively or defensively. So if we were able to pull that off today, I think this draft would become an A+.
Okay. We had somebody ask us right here on the social media page, who do you want at corner? Tell you what, we'll take a break and we'll come back and talk about a potential corner, because the Cowboys need to address that one pretty quick here on day 2 in rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. This is the Players Lounge, brought to you by Hotels.com on DallasCowboysRadio.com.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, Cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
How great would it be to travel to watch the Cowboys win on another team's turf? Pretty great. But honestly, just watching the game from anywhere but your house would be fun. Even a hotel bar with some guy named Phil from St. Louis who thinks Oakland still has a team. So whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Adjust your cleats, adjust your pads, even adjust your helmet, but seriously, don't adjust your underwear because once it's seen, it cannot be unseen. Tommy John's fabric keeps you cool and dry on the field or in the stands, and now they even have loungewear. Yeah, loungewear. Shop underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 15% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Back to the Players Lounge.
All right, Players Lounge. On day 2 of the NFL Draft, we appreciate you joining us. I'm Newy Scruggs, longtime Cowboys reporter, and right alongside my man Barry Church, former Dallas Cowboys safety. Our other running buddy, Danny McCray, is on assignment. So the Cowboys get Micah Parsons in round number 1 and pick up a third-round pick from Philadelphia as they drop from 10 to 12. The two corners that the Cowboys had eyes on, J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain II, were taken at 8 and 9. So the Cowboys left without them. And for many people, they think they got the third best defensive player. Some people have Micah Parsons rated higher as a defensive player on their big boards. Jerry Jones comes out and says that Micah Parsons was their number 1 guy on the draft board. So now we get ready for round 2, where the Cowboys have 4 picks. Okay, 1 pick in the second round, number 44. 3 picks in the third, 75. 84, which they got from the Eagles, and 99, which was a comp pick. So the Cowboys are rolling with 4 picks today. Someone had asked us right here on the Twitter page, Players Lounge social media page, who do you want at corner? All of us right now are in agreement, even our producer, Chris Beam, that Asante Samuel Jr. is not going to be the guy from the standpoint he doesn't fit the defense because of his size. And when you're thinking about who you want for the Cowboys, don't think about who you want. Think about who they like and their scheme of what they want, which is why I went back to Rashaan Slater when Barry asked me earlier. Rashaan Slater has small arms in the Cowboys system for linemen. He would be a guard, not a tackle, so he wasn't worth taking at 12. So when we start to look at corners, what do we know? We know that Dan Quinn and Chris Richard were both on that Seahawks staff. They like tall corners. They like guys that are 6 feet, preferably 6'1", who got long arms. So that's where you start to say, take off Samuel, look at Kelvin Joseph of Kentucky, 6 foot, 195, 4 picks in 9 games last year. Ifeatu Melifanu of Syracuse, 6'3", 205, 3 picks in his last 20 games. His brother's in the league. Elijah Molden of Washington, 5'10", 192, 5 picks in his last 17 games. Tyson Campbell, Georgia, 6'1", 193, 1 interception in 3 years as a starter. So those are guys I'm looking at right now that seemingly are best values, Church, at corner. I am intrigued by Elijah Molden. I ended up watching some of the pro day from Washington and listening to them and just kind of some of the competition that this guy has played. I just think that he may be a guy that they go for. But honestly, I don't know, because we haven't talked to Dan Quinn, Barry. I don't know what they'll really do outside of knocking a guy like Samuel off the board because of the height.
I tend to agree with you on that Elijah Molden pick. I mean, this is kind of a Swiss Army knife guy. He played all around for Washington as far as in the secondary, corner, safety, nickel. He can be that versatile piece that if anybody goes down, he can plug and play in. So I tend to agree with you on that one for the draft. But but a corner that, I think that we could take a flyer on and it wouldn't break the bank is, who's still out there in free agency would be Rashad Breeland. I mean, look, this is a guy who played at Kansas City when these past couple years he was part of their Super Bowl team. He was part of their Super Bowl run last year. And here's a guy that he's long, he's lanky. He kind of fits that mold of a Legion of Boom type corner, a Dan Quinn type corner. He kind of reminds me of Sherman, but a little bit younger version of him. And this is a guy who he's not going to break the bank if we come in there. And he's a veteran guy who can come in, kind of teach this young secondary, because we have an extremely young secondary right now. This is a guy that can kind of teach them the ropes at the corner position, as well as being a valuable starting corner out there for us. And it'll give us time for these young corners that we do get in the draft for them to test, to learn under a vet type corner out there. So for me, I'm still not ruling out that we get a veteran corner in free agency, seeing as though there are a couple out there. So I threw Rashad Breeland out there. But as far as the draft is concerned, I tend to agree with Newy on this one. Elijah Molden, kind of that Swiss Army knife guy that you need in your secondary. When I was there, it was Orlando Scandrick. He was our Swiss Army knife. He could play outside corner. He could play inside corner. He could blitz. He can do all that stuff against the run. So to me, you can never have enough guys who can productive player. So for me, you can never have enough guys who can go out there and be that Swiss Army knife, because depth is key. As we've seen these past couple of years, depth is key. And I wouldn't mind them bringing a guy like Elijah in there to add as a depth piece.
What I hope to see with these 4 picks, and maybe it's 3 picks if they utilize one to trade up and get a play, I want productivity. For the people that don't like the Micah Parsons pick, I simply say this: look at the productivity. This is not we hope he can do this. That was my issue with Tristan Hill. There was a whole lot of hoping with Tristan Hill that they did, and it didn't work out right. Even Taco Charlton was kind of a Taco ain't do nothing for 3 years, but his last year he did something. We need to see guys who've been productive during their time. That is what I'm looking for in terms of what the Cowboys do. If they walk out of here with a tackle, a safety, a corner, and a D tackle, that'd be great. That would be great. Barmore is going to be very interesting. How do they rate him on their board, Church? Because I believe if you could put in a Barmore and a Neville Gallimore, now you're cooking, because they were 31st against the run last year. They've got to figure out a way to stop the run. And, oh, by the way, if you want to help Micah Parsons, if you want to help Jaylon Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, make sure these guards and centers can't get next level on them, because that's what was happening last year, because the Cowboys were not good on the inside. So make these guys up front be big and beefy enough that they're tying up some blockers, which allows your linebackers to scrape and go make plays. So that, to me, I'm thinking, while they need a corner, depending on what's there, defensive tackle, man, they may make that move right up front, depending on how their board's set, which we don't know. But I think that's something to think about.
Hey, I mean, you're 100% right. When we talk about building defenses, we always talk about building from the front to the back. I mean, to me, that's the most successful way you can build a defense. And we've seen last year, it happened time and time again in that Baltimore game, in that Cleveland game, whichever game we got ran out of the building. The offensive line for the other team were able to get to the second level, which is the linebackers, like that. They were able to get up in LVE and Jaylon Smith's face as soon as the ball was snapped. I mean, there was no reading for them. They had to fight off a block, then read the play. And by that time, the guy's 30 yards down the sidelines getting ready to get tackled by a safety. And you can't have that. You cannot have that, especially in this type of defense where it's so simple and it's so vanilla that you got to be able to hit your gaps and you got to be able to be gap disciplined, or we'll see what's going to happen. You're going to get ran out of the building. So we need to be more stout up front, not actually getting it to the quarterback from the interior, but holding up those guards, holding up that center from getting to the second level and picking off our linebackers and turning 2 to 3 yard gains into 15 and 10 yard gains. And we can't have that. We can't have that as a defense. So we need to get more stout, especially on the inside of our defensive line.
Church, on the social media page here, man, they on Twitter, man, you brought up Rashad Breeland. You made one guy mad because he wants Sherman. He says Richard Sherman is better than Breeland. They think Richard Sherman is better than Anthony Brown. So I'm just saying, we got Richard Sherman fan out here, man.
have they seen Richard Sherman last year? I mean, no disrespect, because this guy is definitely probably going to be in the Hall of Fame as a corner, but
no, he won't be in the Hall of Fame.
He could barely run. He could barely run last year, to me, I just don't think he's that guy we need at corner right now. I mean, maybe 2-3 years ago for sure, but now I just don't see it. I just don't see it right now. And I mean, you talk about giving up big plays. I mean, last year he gave up plenty of big. I think he gave up more big plays than Anthony Brown did last year. We're saying that he's better. I don't see it, and I'm definitely not barking up that Richard Sherman tree, especially for our defense.
So, and this is something I wish fans would kind of think about more. So Richard Sherman played for the 49ers last year, and they're saying, you know what, Richard, thank you very much. We're not going to bring you back. Richard Sherman's defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, is with the Jets. They've not brought him over to the Jets. So Richard Sherman's still sitting out there. Go back and think about what you saw from Gerald McCoy and Dontari Poe, two guys that the Carolina Panthers said, you know what, we're good with. And the Cowboys brought them in here. Carolina Panthers didn't have a good defense last year, had new coaching staff, but they said, you know, we don't need these two guys. And the Cowboys just took them, and fans just immediately said, yeah, this is great. Well, guess what? It wasn't. When you start thinking about players who used to be good and what they used to be, what's that line in The Wire? Said the thing about the old days is them the old days.
Yeah,
Richard Sherman was good. Richard Sherman was good in the old days, Back in the day with Seattle, he was good. He's not anymore. So it's time to move on. You need to move on. And to me, the Cowboys got to move on from trying to think about a Richard Sherman. So I'm sorry. But I appreciate how you guys come up here on the Players Lounge social media page on Twitter and get after us with your thoughts.
I mean, look, we don't want another, Keith Brooking type situation. I mean, that was the same situation with Keith Brooking. We brought him in, he was later on in his years. He wasn't that same Keith Brooking that was in Atlanta. And we brought him in here to Dallas to be the starter. And it just didn't pan out. He just wasn't he didn't have that explosiveness. He just didn't have it anymore. He was old. And right now, I mean, in Sherman, he's dealt with an Achilles, he's dealt with a calf, he's been injured, and we don't want to add another injury-prone guy to an already injury-riddled defense. I mean, to me, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and we don't want to bark back up that Keith Brooking tree by bringing another injury-prone type guy to an injury-riddled team as is.
Okay, so you just jarred my memory. I was looking at, they had a bunch of photos they were showing of Jimmy Garoppolo, video of Jimmy Garoppolo, and talking about, Jimmy was hurt last year, so they showed Jimmy sitting in the box at Niner games. Well, Richard Sherman was sitting next to Jimmy for a few games because he was hurt.
He was, because he was hurt.
So I just think you need to bring in a hurt corner. I'm sorry, Richard Sherman fans. Aaron Rodgers says he wants out from the Green Bay Packers. And I'll say this. I understand. You need help. You'd like to have another receiver beside Devontae Adams last year, and they go trade up to take a quarterback, your replacement. And then in the second round, they go draft a running back, and you already have Aaron Jones on the roster. So last year, I looked at Green Bay, and I said, man, these are two picks they made that didn't really make sense. They got back to the NFC Championship game. Aaron Rodgers became the MVP. But apparently, Aaron Rodgers feels disrespected by Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the team, and has said he doesn't want to go back. Packers have said they're not trading Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers can decide to go, I'll be the Jeopardy host here. So it's one more quarterback that doesn't want out. Your feeling on this, Church, is?
I think just think about the disrespect right now that the Packers are throwing at Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer here. This is a future Hall of Famer, a multiple-time MVP. And you're telling me, hey, you're basically saying, hey, man, stay in your lane over there. All right, you're a quarterback. Stay in your lane over here. Let us handle this over here. And then Aaron Rodgers is looking around like, man, let me look at what Tampa Bay's doing. Whatever you need, Tom Brady. What you need? You need all free agents back that had that Super Bowl run. We got you. You need this guy. We got you. You need Antonio Brown. We got you. He's looking at all these other quarterbacks and is like, hold on. I'm a Hall of Fame quarterback out here, and y'all treating me with this type of disrespect? I mean, y'all traded up to get Jordan Love to basically replace me. And then to throw it on top of that, I have an MVP season, and your first pick is on the defensive side of the ball? Now, look, they do need a corner because Kevin King was terrible last year in that playoff game against Tampa Bay. So they definitely needed a corner.
Thank you.
But I'm just like, man, I can't fathom the way they're disrespecting Aaron Rodgers right now. And I think, hey, he has all rights to say, look, I don't even want to go back to Green Bay. Trade me. I think he has all rights to do that. So I'm on Team Rodgers on this one because I just don't think Green Bay is doing him any favors right now.
What the GM is doing, these are fireable offenses. And while the NFL is not the NBA, we're talking about a difference-making player. And, I mean, you see Tom Brady, you see Patrick Mahomes, you see Aaron Rodgers. And in my opinion, those are the three that have the leadership, that have the ability to carry. When we're talking about elite quarterback play, these are the elite of the elite, okay? It's those three guys, in my opinion. That's the club. It's those three guys. Rodgers has got the MVPs in a Super Bowl. Mahomes has an MVP, has a Super Bowl. Brady, more Super Bowls than anybody's ever had at the quarterback position, and the MVPs to go with it. Why would you mess with that? Why would you not try to help that guy out? I go back to Peyton Manning and how blessed he was to have Bill Polian as his general manager with the Colts and then have John Elway as his general manager in Denver. All they did was give that guy pieces. Mm-hmm. Nobody in the 40 years I've watched football had organizations go out of their way to give them, make sure they had the talent like Peyton Manning had. You just look at first-round pick like Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison,
Edgerrin James,
the big tight end from Iowa, Dallas Clark,
Edgerrin
James. Joseph Adai was a first-round pick. Donald Brown was a first-round pick. Demaryius Thomas was a first-round pick in Denver. I mean, all they did was put talent around Peyton Manning, and guess what? It worked. The sheriff is going in the Hall. Well, he was already elected to the Hall of Fame. He set the record with 55 touchdown passes in a year. I mean, we've seen what happens when you give a great elite player help. And if you're Aaron Rodgers, your GM is not getting you help. I get why he's upset. And to me, it's a fireable offense because this is simple to me. I mean, this is really, hey, Aaron, hey, man, what you need? Now, the Packers are not a team that usually spends first-round picks on wide receivers. That's not their MO. It's not what they do. I think Sterling Sharp may have been the last guy they did that to. But, Devontae Adams is a second-round guy, but give your boy some help. You don't sit up here, hey, man, we're going to draft a quarterback, and you got a Hall of Fame guy. Ask what happened to Dan Reeves when he drafted Tommy Maddox while he still had John Elway there. It ended up costing Dan Reeves his job. It ended up costing him his job. They gave it to Wade Phillips. Wade flamed out. Then they gave it to Mike Shanahan, and he ended up winning 2 Super Bowls. But sooner or later, the ownership is going to side with the player before they side with the GM, in my opinion.
To me, I just don't understand what the whole tension or lack of giving this guy what he wants. I mean, look what he's done with the talent he's had. I mean, outside of Devontae Adams, I mean, Lyle Lazard is undrafted free agent. What's the other guy's name? Vaquez Scantling. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but I believe he was undrafted. I mean, you got Robert Tonyan, who I think he was a 5th round pick. So and he's out there with Mercedes Lewis, who's in his 17th year at tight end. So I'm like, he's doing all of this with not getting the best talent in the world, and he's still taking you guys to NFC Championship after NFC Championship, and you're always in contention. Just imagine where you guys would be at if you were able to give this guy a little bit more talent. And that's all he's asking for, and I don't think that's that big of a request for the Green Bay Packers to handle. I just don't understand it.
I remember when Ted Thompson was the general manager and Aaron Rodgers went to Ted Thompson, and when Buffalo was getting rid of their running back, this guy named Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch, and Aaron Rodgers he went to the GM, please get this guy. I know him from our Cal days. I know Marshawn Lynch. They didn't do it. They did not go get Marshawn Lynch. That was a mistake. LaDainian Tomlinson told me how the Packers had pursued him, and he decided to go to the Jets because it was New York, and he said that he thought his wife would prefer New York to Green Bay. But Aaron Rodgers wanted LT. Aaron Rodgers is kind of smart, okay? I mean, the guy did go to Cal, and I just kind of I kind of laugh about just these general managers who don't want to listen to the people who are in the battles. They're on the field. I mean, he's not some weirdo. He's not some guy that can't play. He's a Hall of Fame player. I'm going to listen to the Hall of Fame player when he says to me, hey, this guy can really help us. I don't understand why they won't listen to him. Meanwhile, what do we see in Tampa Bay? They were like, we ain't bringing Antonio Brown. Next thing you know, Antonio Brown is there. And what happened? Antonio Brown caught a touchdown pass, and they're all wearing rings, all right? They're all wearing. Bruce Arians had a Super Bowl ring. Jason Light, the GM, has a Super Bowl ring. So they finally got around to doing it Tom Brady's way. Woo, they're Super Bowl champs. I don't get it, man. There's certain players you should listen to. And Aaron Rodgers didn't feel like he was able to get his message to Green Bay, so he wants out. And it's a shame, man. It's a shame if that guy does not retire a Green Bay Packer. If you watch him with another uniform, the way you saw Brett Favre at the end, playing for the Jets and the Vikings, that's going to be sad because this was avoidable, okay? The Brett thing I got. He kept threatening, I'm going to retire. Finally said, we go draft Aaron Rodgers, and he was like, I don't know. They're like, man, we tired of you not knowing. So Brett caused that one. The Packer organization has made this a mess.
Facts. All facts.
So the Cowboys don't have that issue because they've got a quarterback who's tied up here long term, and the head coach likes the quarterback, the owner likes the quarterback, the executive vice president, he likes the quarterback. So luckily the Cowboys don't have that. But what they need to give the quarterback is some defensive help. So today I'm looking for the Cowboys to address more defense. They need to get a corner. Probably got to get the corner quick. They need the safety. In a perfect world, if they could find a way to use one of these third-round picks and go get Trayvon Merrick, TCU, that would be pretty fun. It'd be pretty cool. Or go get Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle from Alabama. I'd love to see them get one of these productive players. It's going to be fun to see, Church. Can't wait to see what happens tonight, man. My eyes will be glued to the television watching NFL Network for sure.
I mean, there ain't nothing else to do. It's raining outside. I can't golf, so I might as well enjoy the draft. I'll be sitting at the house waiting to see what these picks come with the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully, it's what we just said. Hopefully, it's Baltimore. Hopefully, it's the kid from TCU, and we get a solid corner in there to go ahead and back up some of these guys in the depth in the secondary. But we need it. We need defensive help, and hopefully, we get it here in the second and third round.
And also, I'll throw out offensive tackle. I think that where their board is, I don't know. But I could see an offensive tackle, and we spoke about that as well. There are some good tackles that are out here. I don't expect the kid from Notre Dame to be there, but they got choices, man. And that's Liam Eichenberg. That's the kid's name. Taven Jenkins from Oklahoma State. There's some players out there. Walker Little at 6'7", 313, 19 starts. All 19 starts came at left tackle over at Stanford. They're players that the Cowboys can add at the tackle spot who fit the profile, so they can have some insurance for Tyron Smith and La'el Collins, and not just having Ty Nsekhe out there. So I think I expect them to do that. Mike McCarthy even said that he expected them in this draft to walk away with some offensive line help. So these are things to look out for, but it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. Chris Beam, our producer, Chris has worked hard all week. A lot of shows, a lot of stuff going down here. I cannot thank him enough for his professionalism. This guy's been working with the Cowboys for over 2 decades, man. He and his brother have been doing great stuff. So, Chris, I appreciate your church, man. Thank you for the knowledge. You play safety, you always come with it. And for Cowboy fans who are down on Micah Parsons, I simply say this: go back and check out the productivity. This guy can play. The Cowboys got a player who's productive. The corners weren't there. I feel like they did the thing that they needed to do, picked up a third-round pick. Hey, everybody, that's the Players Lounge, brought to you by Hotels.com. Appreciate Bose for the headphones. We'll chat with you next Friday right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.